The war in Ukraine has entered its 12th year, and the search for peace feels as difficult as ever. Every effort at dialogue has collapsed under Moscow's hardline conditions, while Kyiv continues to argue that a genuine settlement is only possible if Russia shows readiness for real compromise. Yet despite the bloodshed, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky still insists that diplomacy cannot be abandoned. Zelensky has once again opened the door for direct talks with Russian President Vladimir Putin, stressing that such a meeting should take place without preconditions. According to him, peace requires dialogue, even if the odds of success look slim. "We cannot close the door to talks while our people continue to suffer," Zelensky said in a recent statement. But international analysts warn that the Kremlin's approach to negotiations often serves more as a tactic than a solution. Gustav Gressel, a senior policy fellow at the European Council on Foreign Relations, told the Kyiv Independent that Putin's goal is not to settle the war, but to buy time. He explained that Moscow uses the idea of talks to distract Washington and Europe, preventing them from fully mobilizing their defense industries in support of Ukraine. "As long as Ukraine gets only the minimum, Russia wins," Gressel said. The role of the United States has again become central since Donald Trump returned to the White House in 2025. Trump has openly called for a diplomatic resolution and pressed European allies to focus on peace instead of endless conflict. According to Reuters, Zelensky's willingness to seek another meeting with Putin may partly reflect the pressure to show Washington that Kyiv is flexible and willing to engage, even when the prospects remain uncertain. Ukrainian political analyst Ihor Readiness suggested that Zelensky's real strategy may be to corner Putin on the global stage. Even if no agreement is reached, getting Putin to make public statements can later be used against him, Readiness told Ukrainian television. By forcing Moscow to reveal its rigid demands, Kyiv can demonstrate to allies that Russia is not truly interested in peace. Direct communication between Zelensky and Putin has been extremely rare. Their only face-to-face encounter took place in Paris in 2019 at the Normandy Format Summit, where they joined then-German Chancellor Angela Merkel and French President Emmanuel Macron. The talks touched on prisoner exchanges and a ceasefire in eastern Ukraine, but little was achieved. According to political scientist Alexei Heron, who spoke to Ukrainska Pravda, Zelensky left that meeting convinced that Putin had no intention of sticking to agreements. Subsequent attempts to open dialogue also went nowhere. In 2021, as Russian forces massed along Ukraine's border, Zelensky proposed to meet Putin in Donbass, the frontline region. Moscow rejected the offer, claiming Russia was not part of the conflict, and instead invited Zelensky to Moscow. Kyiv dismissed that as an empty gesture. A year later, Russia launched its full-scale invasion, and the atrocities that followed hardened Zelensky's stance. By late 2022, after Russia declared 4 Ukrainian regions as part of its territory, Zelensky ruled out any talks with Putin personally, stating that negotiations could only take place with another Russian president. He also tied future diplomacy to a complete withdrawal of Russian troops. Western media outlets, including the Washington Post, described this as a clear sign that Kyiv had lost all trust in Putin as a negotiating partner. Still, in 2025, Zelensky shifted tone. Facing immense battlefield pressure and Trump's renewed push for diplomacy, he softened his language, calling for a just peace through dialogue. Earlier this year, Kyiv even proposed a meeting in Turkey, but Putin declined to attend and instead dispatched lower-level officials. The talks stalled almost immediately. Since then, indirect contacts have continued, but Kyiv has demanded a temporary ceasefire as a condition for direct negotiations. Moscow has rejected that idea, insisting Ukraine recognize territorial realities first. According to AFP, Putin has again suggested Moscow as a venue for talks, but Zelensky has refused, citing the lack of trust and neutrality. The gap between the two sides remains enormous. Ukraine insists on full sovereignty, security guarantees from the West.